Bishop's Corner on at 4:30 this afternoon. And, of course, a lot of talk, a lot of questions about Charlie Kirk and so forth, and the death penalty.
Actually, two questions.
I was going to say, I think it's actually two, Ron.
Yeah,
perfect.
We do have two, and they're both very similar questions. And of course...
I appreciate them writing in.
Yeah, they deal with the tragic death, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And the first one is from Sean, who writes, Your Excellency, I write to you in deep sadness at the death of Charlie Kirk. Charlie was an American patriot, but more importantly, a disciple of Christ who always reminded the people that he debated, that he loved them, and that they were made in the image of God. Additionally, just a few days ago, Irina Zarutska was brutally killed on a train in Charlotte. I know we have to extend unending mercy of God to everyone, especially our enemies, and that we must leave the judging to God. However, these acts of unfathomable violence really challenge my belief that capital punishment must be ended, which is the teaching of the Catholic Church. How do we as Catholics address these horrific events and unspeakable acts of evil while recognizing the dignity of each human being, even those who commit these atrocities? May God continue to bless you, Your Excellency, and may God have mercy on us. And Bishop, another question that's very similar from Max at Rosary Cathedral. With the news of Charlie Kirk's assassin being arrested and eligible for the death penalty in the state of Utah, how do we respond to this? Would he be considered justified for what he did?
So Sean and Max, thank you both for writing in. And we're taking these questions, I hope you appreciate and understand, taking them together because obviously they are quite similar. So first, I think we have to say this is at the center of the news right now. What a horrific act of unspeakable violence, of assassination against a citizen, Charlie Kirk. No matter what one thinks of him, whether politically or ideologically, it is a complete outrage against humanity and against free speech that he would be snuffed out in such a way. And it is truly to be lamented, and we pray for his widow, his children, and his family. Now, that having been said, I think we also have to say for both Sean and Max, you ask thoughtful questions, which I know many Catholics are thinking and feeling as well. On a really base human level, some people simply don't want to lash out, and he deserves the death penalty. You know, he should get what's coming to him. And actually, we've already heard the governor of Utah, who seems very reasonable, say that they have the death penalty and that they likely will pursue it. Nevertheless, Sean and Max and everyone, I think we have to be very mindful that the Old Testament principle was called lex talionis, the law of retaliation. And you know what that is: an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Now, we have to ask ourselves, did Jesus turn that upside down in the New Testament? The answer is, yes, he did. How did he do that? By offering himself on the cross. How striking, we just had a reflection on the exaltation of the Holy Cross. He did that also from the cross, where he literally, verbally forgave his murderers. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. This is the law of Jesus, which now supersedes the Old Testament law of retaliation. Let me just invite you both and all our readers and listeners who are so deeply troubled by this violence, go please to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and you can go to numbers 2259 all the way through 2270, and obviously some other people might answer the question simply, Sean and Max, with the answer, thou shalt not kill, right? The fifth commandment. But I think the more thoughtful reader will want to go to those numbers in the Catechism, but especially these. Number 2267 on the death penalty. Recourse to the death penalty on the part of legitimate authority following a fair trial was long considered an appropriate response to the gravity of certain crimes and an acceptable, albeit extreme, means of safeguarding the common good. It continues. Today, however, there is an increasing awareness that the dignity of the person is not lost even after the commission of very serious crimes. In addition, a new understanding has emerged of the significance of penal sanctions imposed by the state. Lastly, more effective systems of detention have been developed which ensure the due protection of citizens, but at the same time do not definitively deprive the guilty of the possibility of redemption. It concludes, consequently, the Church teaches, in the light of the gospel, that the death penalty is inadmissible because it is an attack on the inviolability and dignity of the human person, and she works with determination for its abolition worldwide. So, in a nutshell, we're not living in the Old Testament, we're living in the New. In a nutshell, the reality is Jesus forgave his attackers, his murderers, from the cross. Jesus invites us into forgiveness, which might be profoundly difficult, but Jesus also invites us not to be taking human life because we are not the authors of life. Now, again, just note, in the past, there may not have been systems to be able to retain these persons who have committed horrific crimes. Today, we have that capacity with things like life in prison without any parole. So as much as we will grapple with it, I think we need to look to the teaching of Jesus himself and ask ourselves, what is the Lord asking of our hearts, minds, and souls regarding human life, even if that human life seems unworthy of our respect? Thank you.